Welcome, welcome, welcome. Wow. This is exciting times. Hello, my name is Jason Wallace, and I'm the restaurant scientist and the director of business solutions for EatOkra. On behalf of EatOkra, I'd first like to thank you for registering for this first of 4 educational webinars. These webinars are executively produced by EatOkra. The educational webinar series is designed to empower emerging and established Black restaurateurs, food truck operators, and caterers. Today's session will be session 1 of how to make sure your business pop-up is pop-up ready. A little bit about EatOkra. EatOkra is a go-to app discovering Black-owned restaurants nationwide. EatOkra has connected over 300,000 foodies, culinary creators, and restaurants like yourselves. And at EatOkra, we help restaurateurs and food truck owners discover methods how to grow and scale their businesses by providing access to industry experts and educational materials like you're going to get tonight. So as we go forward, please be mindful. I'm going to drop a couple of things to you throughout the course of the show. Tell a friend, bring a friend, tell a colleague next week. We're going to have these for every Monday throughout the course of April. Actually, we're going to do one on a Tuesday. So April 5th, April 12th, April 19th, April 20th, and April 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. EatOkra will reveal methods to grow and scale your business. This particular series is going to focus on the Washington, D.C. metro area, right? So the idea here is that we want to get participating culinary incubators and pop-ups and brand storytelling to really drive home the message of really how do you become profitable and build a brand in a post-COVID world, 2021 and beyond. The webinars are free. So again, tell a friend, bring a friend, go to EatOkra, the app. If you haven't already downloaded it, register for the app. If you're an existing restaurateur, make sure that you claim your restaurant on the app, because it's important that you claim, even though your restaurant may be listed there, but also go in and claim the restaurant, and you'll be able to speak with our business success developer and coordinator, Kevin Edwards, okay? So before we go into today's session, I'd first like to thank EatOkra partners. We have partners that are PepsiCo, Uber Eats, and Dashable.com. And then we have done collaborations with Apple Guides. I'm sure some of you have seen our Apple Guides out there. So today, what we will be discussing is how to make sure your business is pop-up ready. Again, this will be the first of 4 sessions, or 5 sessions actually, throughout the month of April. And today's guests, we have Bobby Boone, the founder of Access, and Ian Callender, the brilliant mind behind Sweet Nation and Sandlot Southeast DC. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
What's up?
Doing.
So, as we go into today's educational webinar, we want you to, again, focus on dropping knowledge nuggets for our listeners. We want the listeners, you can participate in the chat. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We are monitoring the chat. We will address those questions. And at the end, we also have a question and answer period. But if you have something that's burning, that's directly related to the subject matter that either Bobby or Ian is speaking about, please put it directly into the chat. So let's start with Bobby Boone. Bobby Boone, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business model, who you are, and how you're going to educate us tonight.
Well, I can't avoid my full name, Bobby Boone. So let's start there. The alliteration is key. I guess that's with Access as well. So I started Access a couple of years ago, really out of understanding that, entrepreneurs are not well served within kind of the real estate industry, and there could be better service for them. So, with that, I have, worked with, various municipalities, real estate developers, the businesses themselves, in order to really understand, all right, how do we occupy ground floor spaces? How do you make that a reality? How do you, tackle a lot of the barriers that exist for them? So with that, all of my knowledge is really around the real estate side.
Okay.
I've integrate, of course, everything around branding and target audience, et cetera, because all that matters.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we can continue evolving that conversation throughout this hour.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for being here, Bobby. And Access is a beautiful company. Real estate is a very important component for any restaurateur, food truck operator, to really understand the nuts and bolts. So Bobby is going to bring a lot of knowledge to us this evening. Let's talk about Ian Callender, brilliant mind, again, behind Sweet Nation, and give us a little understanding of what Sandlot Southeast in Washington, D.C. is all about.
Sure. So Ian Callender, DC native, born and raised. Sweet Nation is a small event firm that I created, which was actually a spinoff of Sneaker Suite. I'm a sneaker collector by trade. It's something that I've been doing since I was a kid. And I practically just learned how to take that hobby and turn it into a business. And we really just introduced a cool and unique way of sharing and showing sneakers in the nightclub industry. And Sweet Nation kind of just created a lane for corporate partners to sponsor and subsidize a lot of the cost of those events. And then we got into the real estate industry. So being able to reclaim vacant, dilapidated spaces, abandoned properties, to introduce this intersection of engagement is what has led us really over the past 10 years all over DC to create some cool cultural institutions in Washington, DC, including Sandlot. Sandlot being one of them. It's just an outdoor experiential space. There wasn't really a space for Black folk to assemble and not be judged. So we wanted to create that space for us to enjoy each other, the music that we love, the food and entertainment, and just being aligned with one another in a safe space. So Sandlot Southeast was created in 2019, and we're slowly expanding.
So give me an idea of the size and the number of businesses, or the magnitude of, how many people can participate or are participating.
So for the Sandlot Southeast project, specifically with the Uber Eats program, we opened it up to introduce a way where restaurants, food trucks, caterers, chefs can have an entry point in a neighborhood that lacks diversity. The area that Sandlot Southeast is located only has one Black-owned restaurant out of 60 and 6 Black-owned establishments out of 110. So including us. So we wanted to use that stat as a way to introduce this variance and basically turn the keys over to restaurateurs who have the capacity to introduce their cuisine, but just not the capital means or just the accessibility to a neighborhood that's the most dense neighborhood in Washington, D.C., meaning the most amount of people live in this area. So when we first opened the application, we had 300 restaurants. Over 300 restaurants apply, and with the support of Access, we've narrowed it down to about 60, 65, and that's really just getting the vetting process facilitated. A lot of businesses that applied didn't have their basic business license, or they weren't really, a business, just kind of getting their feet wet on the culinary side, or just kind of hustling through the pandemic and really learning that they are some dope chefs.
Right.
So those are like kind of the folks that we want to help coach through the process and the program. But that's really kind of where we saw value with this project.
Okay. So in terms of what you and Ian do, which, the chicken or the egg come first, right? So do I find my real estate or do I develop my concept and then find the real estate? Like, I need you guys to kind of play tennis with me a little bit in terms of the roles that you both play in servicing these restaurateurs and food truck operators and private chefs, caterers.
Yeah, I can pick up on that. I think, from my experience, I've worked with like Fortune 500 brands to, really local mom and pops. And what I find in that is that once you have a concept, it dictates everything. Like it can tell you where you should go, who your customer base. Of course, you can refine that as you actually
Right.
deal with the real estate and develop from there.
Right.
But it's an opportunity to like really refine, make sure that you have a sound package. And then, if you have a sound package, you can find the customers.
Got
And I
you.
think it's just, being able to work through that process proactively.
Got you. And do you assist with lease negotiations and build out versus, a vanilla box versus something taking over a second generation restaurant?
Yeah, so my role typically with small businesses have lend itself to the educational component as well as that site selection strategy. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm understanding, hey, here are kind of the boxes I need to check in order to be brick and mortar ready. And then, after that, it's all right, where do I actually go?
Mm-hmm.
And so thinking about strategies that, hey, I'm a fast casual restaurant, therefore I probably need a substantial daytime population in order to, deal with that lunch meal period. So you won't be trying to, only utilize the few residents that's around in order to substantiate sales.
Right.
Really being able to kind of refine the concept based upon what the true opportunities are within communities.
Okay. Do you get behind the numbers?
Yes, that's my favorite part actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so my work, it has primarily been, understanding kind of, all right, you have 1,000 residents within, walking distance. What percentage of them are actually dining at, restaurants? How can you capture them? What are strategies that you need to lead with in order to market and advertise, et cetera, as well as what are the opportunities to make your real estate speak for itself? And
Got you.
so, say, hey, I'm at a convention center. I'm going to put the bar in front of the restaurant because I know it's going to be 15, like a lot of people with like 15-minute breaks want to catch a quick cocktail or a quick coffee. And
Right.
so let me actually provide them that opportunity within the design.
Got you. Got you. And Ian, it sounds like you dabble in the world of letting people establish some type of a proof of concept before, so they could spend, they can work with a smaller location or a smaller budget, if you will, before they take on a full brick and mortar. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Okay.
And one of our other locations, Blind Wino, which is like the old church that we repurposed into our gallery and event space,
Mm-hmm.
we worked with a lot of like promoters and event producers who couldn't really get into the larger establishments to throw these parties, like Henny Palooza or Duce Palooza or Trap Karaoke or some of the other names that are super big now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it from the restaurant side, we had the capability where we had a catering kitchen where we were bringing in, again, like a lot of chefs, caterers that didn't have the capacity of some of the larger institutions, but they had personal preference of those that were renting the venue. So it's a delicate balance to allow someone with access to a facility where you said proof of concept. So it's like, well, maybe this can work or maybe that couldn't work. And even to echo on what Bobby was saying and what you had inquired about lease negotiations, I mean, that's one of the things that we've dealt with quite a lot just by reclaiming these vacant spaces in second generation spaces as well. The lease conversation is something that's still evolving, and will probably change for good in the restaurant industry. More specifically, the base rent plus a percentage of your sales. That's the traditional standard lease verbiage. Now we're getting into a place where it's just percentage of rent. Because why should a landlord or a property owner have this excessive component for rent where it's 30% of your business and you're not really gaining anything marginally in the amount of time and effort that goes into the culinary industry? It might not be as fulfilling as if you were, really just focusing on your craft and only getting a percentage of that towards your rent. So it's a lot of kind of interesting ways to have that conversation.
absolutely.
Can I build?
Go ahead. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay.
Bobby.
Yeah, I was going to build on that a little bit because I
Yeah.
think, where we find a lot of entrepreneurs is they do have substantial overhead within their rent costs
Hmm.
comparative to their total sales. And so thinking about strategies to, you know, deal with that. So that means, hey, I need to increase my sales, I need to decrease my rent.
Right.
It's one or the other.
Right.
And nationally, the average, that most like national brands, 8% to 10% on their rent of total overhead. And so thinking about that as a strategy for your business is something that you should continue to evolve and like, all right, yeah, maybe starting off with a high percentage of my sales contributed to rent, but we need to be working strategically to get that down. And then one point on pop-ups. So I think one of the ideas that, or one of the values that I would say pop-ups provide is that back to that proof of concept. When you have those sales, now you can go
Right.
to a property owner or developer and say, hey, look what I've been doing. I can make money. Like that's not the problem. So you're mitigating your risk by investing in me into this space and understand kind of the nuances that are associated with that. So we can talk about tenant improvements and all these other topics if we would like to, but I know this is about pop-up. So like understanding kind of that from a perspective is like totally a valuable concept in order to really drive long-term tenancy based upon your pop-up success.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the term pop-up is really a flexible term. You can pop up at a festival where it's just a bunch of street vendors. That's considered a pop-up. A pop-up doesn't have to be a standalone brick and mortar experience. A pop-up can be a farmer's market. A pop-up can be you partnering with another established brick and mortar restaurant, and you're just a star chef or a sous chef or just someone that's working a line, and you're introducing a menu item as an add-on to an already existing menu. It's really super flexible.
Got you. So let's keep talking about this pop-up readiness, right? So what do I need? Do I need a POS system? How is the landlord? So you're telling me that the pop-up rents are variable. It's a variable lease, right? It's a percentage of my sales. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly?
I mean, that's one negotiable term.
Okay.
Is instead of charging a base rent, which might say $5,000 a month, maybe it'll just be a percentage of sales. 5, 10, 12% of your sales would be what the rent term is.
As an operator, how do I determine that point of indifference? How do I know if a flat rate rent is beneficial, and at what point does the variable rate match that? Follow me? Do we have a formula? Do we have a formula?
It's a formula, but I don't know if it's easy enough
if it's applicable. Okay, all right.
Webinar. But what I'll say, just as you're considering that though, is if you understand that, hey, I'm just starting off and I don't know, what my sales are going to be at this location.
Yes.
It might be a safer bet to do the first year or two as a percentage rent deal and then move into a base, traditional base rent, triple net, lease. And that really allows that flexibility for you to really get numbers associated with, all right, how much can I reasonably pay within this space for rent? And so, one of the things I also noticed, so I did some work in Detroit for a few years and still working there, but most of the downtown Detroit leases are structured as percentage rent deals, base rent plus percent. So you have a lower base. So it's like, hey, it's like a collar. Like, hey, you're at least paying $12 a square foot, and we can receive more in rent based upon how well you do. But you're always paying this kind of base. But you won't exceed a certain amount of dollars in rent. So it is really a protective opportunity for businesses when they enter into percentage rent deals, especially when the market hasn't proved itself yet.
So I definitely need people like you and Ian to help walk me through that. So, but I'm still going to keep, I'm going to keep you on point here and say, all right, how do I get pop-up ready? So clearly I have a concept. I'm a chef. I have a concept, or I'm a restaurateur. I have a concept. What do I need in terms of POS, hardware, software? How do I collect credit cards, cash? Like, what are my human resource components? Like, really walk me through what I need so that I could come to a Sandlot Southeast, opportunity and say, okay, I'm ready, and the landlord will accept the fact that I'm a first-time restaurateur. Do I have to sign personal guarantees? What's the length and terms of these loans, these leases? Like, so just make me pop up ready, gentlemen.
I'll take it back a few steps. So
Okay.
I use two examples that folks may be familiar with. Victory Restaurant in DC,
Okay.
Kitchen Cray Restaurant in DC. Those two business entities started as inspiring chefs that just love to cook. And this was right when, Instagram started to bubble and everyone's taking pictures of this beautiful food and people desiring it, and them saying, well, if you pull up to this parking lot, then you can pay me $30 for a lobster mac and cheese and whatever. And the demand started, at that point. So when you say pop-up ready, what those two establishments had was, the Square account. They had, a bank account. They had a business,
Gotcha.
business license, certificate of insurance, all the key documents that your jurisdiction requires in order for you to receive monies for goods. Having an EIN. Those are things that kind of gives you the validity of being an established business.
Right.
And then from that, you start introducing other things. Kitchen Cray, Chef JR, he used to just do events where he had an Eventbrite and took over a restaurant and was doing dedicated brunches and just working out deals with, again, other restaurants, and not just doing it on his own, but just doing it where the formalities were all in place, the infrastructure, the foundation was in place. And then you get to a level again where it's like, well, man, we did an event this weekend and we sold 200 tickets in one weekend for brunch. So how can we either continue that or expand on that? And that's really how you can determine, if you're pop-up ready, but more so just understanding the infrastructure piece. Like a lot of the grants that come through from COVID, post-pandemic grants, in order for you to receive any money, you got to show your clean hands. You got to make sure that you don't owe any taxes to DC. You got to make sure that you have a certificate of good standing. So there's a series of basic documents that you should have on top of your basic infrastructure of having a Square account, which is the point of sale handheld. Remember people used to have their phones, a little thing that's stuck.
Yeah.
That was old technology. Now newer technology makes it a lot easier and cleaner to accept.
Excellent. Okay, so you're still talking about insurance and all those things. Do we have an idea in terms of the cost, the overall cost of what it takes to become pop-up ready? You're talking 50,000, 100,000, 150, 200?
I don't even think we're so I don't want to get pop-up ready confused with going into a brick and mortar.
Okay.
Pop-up ready is literally just having I'm in my, kitchen, home, whatever. And, I have a bunch of cookies over here that I baked, slaved over for 2 days. And I want to package them up and I want to sell them. I can literally put them in a bin and know that I have all my, information. And as long as I have a vendor's license, then I can go on the corner and sell these cookies legally and collect money and pay taxes to the city. Now, technically, to me, that's pop-up ready, because I can either go into a brick and mortar where I can do this alone or with someone else, or I can do it, the way I had just mentioned. So that's the there's levels of pop-up, I guess I should say, that might make it a little more.
And which is exactly. So we're fleshing this out because we have again, we have listeners across the nation, and every municipality is a little different.
Right.
So that's why I want you guys to kind of drop these, these nuggets of wisdom and knowledge so that people can really understand the process.
Yeah. I want to take a step back because I also, building upon that and understanding that, many municipalities, they require you to prepare your foods in commercial kitchens in order to vend on the streets, or have a certified like point of vending, which is food truck or barbecue grill that has been inspected by the health department and cleared. But before you do that, it's like the initial step. Hey, I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
You have to register as a corporation.
Okay.
Like I think that's like, all right, well, likely a corporation. You can register as a nonprofit. I don't know if that's what you want to do, but
Right.
like register as a corporation. Understand you have to have your trade name. That's also like doing business as. So you might be Bobby Boone Incorporated, but I'm doing business as B Boone Barbecue. Like
Right.
that could be my business, my trade name. So understand the nuances of that, and fees are associated with those initial registrations.
Correct.
Got you.
Step 2. Tax registration. That's where the EIN comes into place. You can't get an EIN without being registered in somebody's state or the district. And so, regardless of,
Or both,
all the
or
other
both
stuff
state
that you're
and
doing.
district.
Say it again.
I said, or both state and district.
Or state and district,
Yeah,
right? And so figuring out a strategy to get through that process, that EIN, the Office of Tax Revenue, all of those things are essential. Next is just like permits, that whole process. Like, again, if you're using a space, they should issue you a certificate of occupancy that's saying, hey, you're now utilizing this space. And so as I'm utilizing this space, I'm covered under their certificate of occupancy, their inspections, et cetera. And so like in DC, their shared kitchen, like Union Kitchen or mess hall, et cetera, that you can leverage in order to do that, and they will issue you that CO.
Got you.
Yeah, et cetera. And then you go through all of the other processes. Alcohol is you talk to somebody. There's so many classes of alcohol licenses within that process that you should, understand that you have to go through zoning, through DCRA, through OTR, all, the Office of Tax Revenue is OTR. In DC, I don't know RA what it actually stands for.
Regulatory Affairs.
There you go.
Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs.
Got you. Okay. So yeah, that's what I was driving at. So I want to thank you for taking that deep dive, because you're still talking about insurance as well. Because if both business insurance and liability insurance, and clearly if there's a liquor license involved, we're talking about liquor licenses, insurances as well.
Exactly. And then think about like the food handler's certificate. I think we talked about that, and making sure that, the staff, the primary chef, et cetera, are eligible to prepare and to serve.
Gotcha.
And so ensuring that, that's a great step to go ahead and do that early on in the process, in order to when you get to the point where, hey, I'm ready to, make sales, you're not trying to take the classes and pass the course, et cetera, at the same time.
Got you.
Right.
Got you. Okay. So yeah, that's definitely a deeper dive. And talk to me a little bit about human resources and payroll taxes. Should I put myself on payroll? Am I an employee as well as the president and CEO? Can you tell me how to become PopUp ready to make sure that I'm handling all my payroll processing properly?
Yeah.
So I'm about to say, I'm a real estate guy. So human resources.
And I'm not a restaurateur.
Okay.
But I think if I can inquire on myself, like I'm a single member LLC, and I pay myself. So that's something that I've definitely had my tax accountant kind of like give me the tools. And I think that's something else that, like, I see a lot of people speaking in the chat, like you should definitely at least attempt to understand and learn on your own, as you know what I did, because I was that person that said I don't have the money to hire an accountant or hire a lawyer or hire anybody to help me with this business aside from myself. But then as I became successful, I said, this is an investment and I want to be able to be here in this space for a long period of time. So I need to invest a couple $100 a month on an accountant, legal team, and just people that are experts and can help guide me in the right direction to become successful as an entrepreneur, as a single business owner or a business owner that has, whether they're contractors or employees, whether they're 1099s and W-2s. I mean, obviously a lot goes into a business when you have employees with benefits and other liabilities, but it's all just a part of the journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of LLCs, I have a question here from Brenda Hernandez. She's asking, can she have an LLC without getting a DBA?
Yeah,
Yes,
like,
yep.
yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, that's the short
Yeah.
answer. Yes.
Yes.
I think you have to have you have to have the full legal name before you're eligible for the DBA.
Doing business as.
And so you can't just say, "Hey, I'm Brenda B. Berries." I think that's I can't just say I'm B. Berries. I have to say I'm B. Berries LLC before going to B's Berries, short abbreviated.
Got it. And again, one more. I don't know if I asked earlier, but what's normally the terms of these leases, these pop-up leases? Is it a day-by-day lease? Is it like people don't understand something. When you go to a hotel room, that's a one-night lease or a two-night lease. I mean, they don't know how many nights you're staying. So traditionally, I know I heard something like 1 or 2 years, but do these leases run the gamut from 1 day to 1 week to 1 month to 1 year?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just a short-term lease.
Got it.
And the terms of that are variable, in terms of how much you're paying, what structure you're paying under, etc. It is essential for the property owners to know, what those terms are, because it's also an administrative hurdle for them to continue to pull out, tenant versus tenant versus tenant versus tenant, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm gonna lease to you for 5 years, and all you gotta do is stroke this check every month,
and
I'm good, and we good." So it's like, all right, how do we get to a point where we aren't necessarily where that part of the business is handled, right? And I think that's where Sandlot and many of the other kind of larger pop-up operators really come into place, and really take advantage of the opportunity of providing spaces for emerging businesses.
Got you. Are security deposits required, and our background and our credit checks performed?
I think it just again depends on your level of entry.
Okay.
I mean, if it's a spot that's willing to give you 30 days to just somebody vacated a property and you want to just say, hey, I want to just go in and do a proof of concept, they might not require much of anything, but traditionally longer leases require some form of security deposit, and some form of personal guarantee.
Man, I'm learning a lot. I hope our listeners and watchers are learning a lot here, because, the pop-up world is something that is an opportunity for, again, to allow you to get proof of concept. So,
and I'll put a link in the chat too that just speaks to, I mean, I know I'm in a different kind of industry as far as from a culinary perspective, but Sandlot Southeast really being like our kind of first foray where we can provide a solution for an industry that doesn't really have access to real estate like that. So we want to be able to say, like our Sandlot Southeast, lease is a percentage lease. So the owner is getting a percentage of our revenue, And then by us working with partners such as Uber Eats, we were able to secure some funding to basically cover that component so that the restaurants and the culinary folk, chefs, food trucks can attain 100% of their proceeds. At a lot of the other establishments that we launched, we were doing the same thing in the art industry. So we were working with local regional artists and giving them space to showcase their artwork. And then with our corporate partners, we were able to subsidize a lot of the operating expenses and then making the artists retain 100% of their sales. So these are just things that are non-traditional and something that should have been happening a long time ago, but the industry was never really favoring restaurateurs and entrepreneurs, but that's slowly going to change post-pandemic.
Absolutely. So Ian, let's talk a little bit about Sandlot. Like, just give me a visual, what it is, how is it, you know, like, because I wish we had a visual. I know we spoke earlier about this, but, you know, are there still opportunities there? Are they sold out? Like, just give us a visual on Sandlot. Let's take a little deep dive into that.
I mean, Sandlot is, I mean, I guess I could share a video, right? I mean, is that something we can do?
I'm being told in the booth it is something. How long's the video?
It's like 1 minute.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm okay with it.
All right, so I just show a video of what Sandlot Southeast looks like.
Yes, let's do this. Oh.
So it's really just like again, just a neighborhood hangout spot.
Let's get some applause there. Let's drop some applause right there. Yeah, that's dope.
Just, you know, again, we wanted to create this. We wanted to make this really for us and something that didn't require a lot. So we're like minimalist, right? So when you come to Sandlot, we're not overloading you with a Cheesecake Factory menu of over 200 plus items. You know, we're giving you some simple cocktails that are identified by color. It's 5 of them: black, red, blue, green, and yellow. And then partnering with, again, food trucks and caterers who can be the food component while we take care of the liquor and the drink component. And then marry the two to create the concept of Sandlot. So it's really dope. And the expansion, there are still opportunities, at least not in this initial kind of Uber Eats cohort. And I know Bobby's keeping me in line with that a lot, but we are going to be expanding to Georgetown, where we have a dedicated food truck where folks that have items that can't be prepared in a catering kitchen, you know, like fried fish or, you know, things of that nature, they can use this food truck to serve, sell and serve those particular items in the neighborhood, again, that lacks diversity.
Wow. Congratulations, man. That's dope. What are the hours and days of operation?
We are open every Thursday through Sunday. Hours vary, but mostly there between 4 and 10 o'clock every Thursday through Sunday.
And this is year round?
Well, we just reopened this weekend. We were closed for the winter. Just, you know, COVID is the answer for everything during the winter time.
Right.
But we are working on an exterior solution where we can be there year round.
Got you. Well, gentlemen, as we wind down, I want you to give some thought to your final words, and I just want to shout out to all of the YouTube viewers out there. And one, thank you for viewing, and give us in the comment section, shout out where you're from, where you are, what type of restaurant you have, whether you're a food truck owner, a chef, caterer, whatever you are, put it in our comment section, and we need you to engage, because we're going to continue to develop educational webinars like this, but we want to give you exactly what you need. So it's important that you give us this feedback and you reach out. If you haven't already done so, go to EatOkra, the app, and register your restaurant, claim your restaurants, send us emails, so that we can really understand what your pain points are, and we could bring additional educational materials like we're doing today. So we want to give everybody a shout out and thank you for tuning in. We're not done yet, so don't go anywhere. Ian, I got a shout out here from apparently our boy, Chef Jerome Grant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a bad boy there. So if y'all don't know, DC area, Chef Jerome Grant, fabulous guy.
So Chef Jerome, so when we launched Sandlot Southeast last year, October, he was around the corner at Jackie and Dasha. And we, had just met, and we really were like, look, we're neighbors, we're Black, we're both Black, so how can we create some type of relationship between our two businesses, and came up with a plan where patrons at Sandlot can scan a QR code that connected to the restaurant, which was like not maybe 100 feet away, and utilizing their commercial kitchen, we had the ability to devise a specific specialty menu that he came up with for our patrons.
Okay.
So that the experience was different from Jackie. And that worked well. We had the ability to promote a brunch concept with brunch cuisine and a dinner concept. So shout out and kudos to Chef Jerome on that.
Yeah. And good dude, good brother. So as we wind down, gentlemen, give us some final nuggets of wisdom, knowledge. What do you want? What was your goal for obviously tonight's webinar, and what you want our viewers to take away? Start with Bobby.
Cool. I wanted to first answer Brenda's question that was in the chat. She talked about zoning and figuring out for food trucks, which is always crazy. So first, zoning is a land use strategy that really the government issues in terms of what can be where. So it's like, hey, you can't have a food truck in the middle of a bedroom community, basically. And how the district manages their food truck for public land is that you have to be within a certain area. Hold on 1 second, my headphones are dying.
All right, so you have to be in a designated area where they have allocated space, and you've seen it across the district where you can find that. And so hey, that's by the National Mall, that's around Farragut Square, etc. And so figuring out kind of those locations, you can reach out to your ANCs if you're local, then they can connect you with all of those specific representatives. If you're elsewhere across the nation, I don't know, but you have to one, find the information around where those things are located before you can just pop up, because you don't want to, next thing you know, the cops come in and tell you got to move your truck because it's illegally parked.
Right.
Yeah, and so with that, I think it's making sure that it goes through its proper inspections as well, in terms of being receiving the appropriate permits that's associated. And then one of the things that I'll say about that as well is like think about back to location, right? It's like, what type of food, who are your customers, all of these things that you have to ask within any kind of decision that you're making about your space. You should really go, to back to your concept, back to, all right, how can I really create a soluble business plan around, my location, my concept, my customer base, marketing strategies, etc., in order to really see the most bang for your buck and, get your good and service out there.
Got you. Ian, departing wisdom.
Parting wisdom is probably using your imagination and realizing that there are no rules and requirements. Although Bobby just spent some good sufficient amount of time saying that there are, but just from a proof of concept with your idea, if you have something that you want to achieve, you can create your own lane, and really push the envelope when it comes to culinary, and when it comes to doing pop-ups in a non-traditional way. Think about how a lot of businesses now are mixing uses. You used to go into a barber shop, and now you have these barbershop salon lounges where you can go get a cocktail or go get a mimosa when you get your nails done. I'm pretty sure that at some point there'll be other types of uses where culinary can mix with art or other means. So it's just something to consider long term.
Got you. Okay. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking that deep dive into making sure our businesses are pop-up ready. I learned a lot. Hopefully our viewers did as well. For the viewers out there, again, it is extremely important that you engage with us so that we can really continue to create content that that solves your pain points and addresses the needs that you have. If you haven't already done so again, go to EatOkra.com, get access to over 30,000 foodies looking to support Black culinary creators. We spread the love. We're really about. We have an advocacy for what we do. If you're looking at the rest of the month, be sure to log in. Session 2, April 12th, Food Trucks 101. Session 3, Digital Marketing and PR Methods for Telling Your Brand Story, Part 1, April 19th, 7 p.m. April 20th, Part 2, Digital Marketing and PR Methods for Telling Your Brand Story. And Session 4, Make Uber Eats Work for You. So those are actually at Session 5. Today was Session 1. So that's the lineup coming up for the rest of the month of April. So please be sure to log in, engage, reach out to us so that we really understand what your pain points are and what your needs are. Let me thank our partners again, PepsiCo, Uber Eats, and Dashable.com. Let me thank our collaborator, Apple Guides. I want to thank Team EatOkra, co-founders Janique and Anthony Edwards Jr. I want to thank Joshua Sharp, Kevin Edwards, Kira Houston, Brittany Harris, LaKendra Kellum, and Naisha. Aziz, I'm sorry, Naisha, I didn't mean to butcher that. But all of this is possible because we have brilliant minds over at EatOkra. We're really a technology company that's bringing solutions to the restaurant and food service space. And, we're really looking forward to some powerful things in 2021 and beyond. So, gentlemen, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for viewing and listening, and make sure you come back. Be sure to tell a friend, bring a colleague. Next Monday, 7 p.m. We'll see you there. Thank you very much.